This is an AI-generated discourse.
All right, so today we're diving into some fascinating new research that asks a really important question. What truly makes an online course work? I mean, really work for the students. With online learning being such a huge part of our lives now, a couple of researchers went straight to the source, the students themselves, to figure out what's a must-have, what's a waste of time, and why. Let's get into what they found. So, if you've ever taken an online class, I'm sure this feels familiar. You're staring at your screen, maybe feeling a little lost, a little disconnected, like you're just checking boxes. It's a super common feeling, and it's the exact problem that researchers Nalin Baliram and Robin Henriksen wanted to tackle. They wanted to know what makes the difference between a class that's a chore and one that you're actually excited about. So to figure this all out, the study leans on a really solid classic framework. It breaks the whole online experience down into three main ways we interact in a course. Think of these as the three main ingredients, the building blocks of any online class. And understanding these is the first step to, solving the whole engagement puzzle.
Now, we gotta be clear. When we say engagement, we're not just talking about logging on or posting once in a forum. This study is all about cognitive engagement, and that is a huge deal. It's about being actively involved, wrestling with new ideas, and having meaningful interactions with the course material, with your instructor, and with other students. It's the difference between just passively watching a show and actually being in the play.
Okay, so here are those three pillars. First up, you've got learner-to-learner interaction. That's your group projects, your discussion boards, your peer reviews. Then there's the big one, learner-to-instructor. This is all about getting feedback, asking questions, and feeling that connection with the person leading the class. And finally, learner-to-content. This is how you grapple with the readings, the videos, and the assignments. Basically, everything you do in an online course falls into one of these three buckets.
So, keeping that framework in mind, the researchers asked students to rate what was most important to them. And the results? They showed a really clear pecking order of what students absolutely need to feel plugged in. So, let's take a look at what floated to the top. And wow, the number one finding was just unmistakable. It wasn't even close. When you average it all out, learner-to-instructor interaction was the clear winner. With a score of 4.06 out of 5, students said connecting with their teacher was more important than the content itself and way more important than connecting with their peers.
But what does instructor interaction really mean on a day-to-day basis? You might think it's about complex stuff, but the study found something much simpler. The most powerful number was this one, a massive 89%.
Yep, 89% of students said that simple, consistent communication was absolutely key. We're talking about the basics. Regular announcements, email reminders for due dates, and having a place to ask questions. These simple things were seen as completely essential for students to feel supported and on track.
And this chart is awesome because it shows us the number one top-rated strategy in each of those three categories. So for the instructor, it's all about that clear, constant communication we just talked about. For the content, students loved assignments based on realistic, real-world scenarios. They want to know how this stuff applies to their lives. And for peer interaction, here's the twist. The best thing wasn't being forced to talk, but having a choice in what they read before they discussed it. Okay, so knowing what to do is half the story. The researchers also asked what not to do. What are the things that are supposed to be engaging but just feel like busy work? Some of these findings are pretty eye-opening.
And this quote from a student really says it all. A big one that kept coming up was having too much passive video content, specifically videos that just summarize the reading you're about to do. Students didn't want to be talked at, they wanted to dig in and do the work themselves. It felt redundant. This right here really puts it in black and white. On the one hand, clear, detailed feedback from an instructor was a top priority. But on the other, students found peer-to-peer discussions, and especially peer grading, to be way less helpful. They wanted the expert's opinion. And while they loved those realistic, hands-on assignments, they really weren't fans of being overloaded with passive video lectures. It's a clear win for active, guided learning. And the list of don't bothers keeps going. First, those obligatory discussion boards, you know the ones, where you just post to get credit. They often felt pretty pointless. Next, things like simple online reading quizzes were seen as passive, not real learning. And finally, a lot of students brought up the real-world headaches of online group work. It can just be so hard to coordinate schedules and keep everyone accountable.
So what's the big picture here? Where does this leave us?
Well, the great thing about this research is that it doesn't just point out problems. It gives us a really clear roadmap for what a great online learning experience should look like. It's like a playbook. Look, if there's one thing you take away from all of this, let it be this. The instructor is the absolute cornerstone of a great online class. It's not the technology, it's not the fancy videos, it's the person. An active, communicative instructor becomes more than just a teacher. They become a mentor, a motivator, and a real partner in your learning. That human connection is everything.
And we can boil all these findings down to 4 simple, really powerful principles. Think of them as the 4 C's. First, choice. Give students some power over their learning. Let them choose topics or readings. Second, clarity. Make sure everything from instructions to feedback is crystal clear, no guesswork. Third, connection. That instructor presence we've been talking about, it has to be a top priority. And finally, context. Make the work matter by connecting it to the real world.
So, I'll leave you with this question to think about. Based on your own experiences as a student, or maybe even as a teacher, and after hearing about this research, if you could change just one thing about online classes to make them more engaging, what would it be? It's a really important question as we all try to make online learning the best it can possibly be.